do, Dream Team? It's your boy D Neal back with another reaction video, guys. Here we are with furious F1 drivers slam Chinese Grand Prix after major new issue exposed. I'm intrigued, also scared to see what issue is on this Chinese Grand Prix. Before we dive in, make sure you subscribe, ring notification bell, give the video a thumbs up, and let's find out.
This upcoming race week sees the paddock returning to a much-beloved circuit for the first time since before the COVID-19 pandemic, all the way back in 2019, where Formula One hit its 1000th race. Following years of precautionary cancellations, it's 2024 that F1 returns to Shanghai, a circuit with a reputation for exciting racing and controversial moments. However, the controversy seems to have started early this year, as there are already murmurings of dissidence and backlash before the rubber has even touched tarmac. After a long time away from the circuit and a whole new regulation cycle emerging within that time frame, are we about to see as explosive of a return to China as when it first emerged onto the F1 calendar back in 2004? Or is all of this just drivers and teams getting their excuses in early? Want to know why the backlash against the upcoming race weekend has been so loud? There have been some fair points being made, but just how big of an impact will we see back at home? And stick around, because there have been some races in the past which may give us an indication as to just how chaotic this weekend could be. So what exactly is it that has the drivers, team principals and pundits with their backs up at the moment? Well, the matter is split into three issues, and all of them make each other worse. The first issue is in regards to the surface, which hasn't seen F1 racing for coming up to 5 years. This makes the surface incredibly green and unpredictable for the teams, something which can throw up some real curveballs for the teams in regards to strategy and drivers if they move off the racing line into an especially unrubbered-in section of the track. Ex-F1 driver Christian Danner has been very vocal about his concerns in regard to not only the state of the tarmac, but also how the weather conditions in an especially built-up industrial region may affect the race. First and foremost, I expect a very green track that offers hardly any grip. This will be terrible for the drivers until the track finally has grip. There is also a relatively large amount of industry in the area surrounding the racetrack. From the air, you not only could see the raindrops, but also what's in the clouds. The track will be slippery. That will be a huge topic on Friday, how the route is understood, not just for the drivers, but also for the engineers. How do I have to tune the car so the tire A, B or C could do what I want them to do? That will be the challenge.
That's crazy. It's like, bro, like, these are things that I just would never think of. Like, being a green track, not having grip, being surrounded by industrial. These are just industrial area. These are just little details that I guess me as a casual, because I would say casual F1 fan. I wouldn't say like die-hard F1 fan, because I don't know a lot of these things about Formula One. I'm trying to learn every day. I try to learn a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. But I'm still a very green fan, still a very casual fan who doesn't know all the details that go into racing. As I learn, I find out like how extremely crazy it is, everything that goes into it. But I feel like I'm still only cracking the surface of everything that goes into the cars, everything that goes into the tracks, everything about the sport. I'm still only cracking the surface on the things that I know. So it's insane to me hearing these things.
Last year, the FIA conducted an inspection of the track which found substantial bumps that needed addressing. When partnered with an already green track, this could throw up substantial challenges of its own, as grip levels may differ at different sections of the circuit. The changes to the circuit also immediately raised eyebrows, with Sergio Perez voicing what everyone else is already thinking. I just hope that there are no issues with the track, with any drain holes, any issues like that. With rain currently forecast for the weekend, it may even be that any rubbering in of the track is undone overnight. Or worse, we could end up with a repeat of the Turkey fiasco back in 2020, which saw cars crawling off the line and subsequently pirouetting off the circuit into the first corner. While that race at Turkey has gone down as a certified classic with more spins than laps, it's remembered fondly as a one-off. A repeat of these conditions at an equally slippery and unrubbered in Shanghai will likely prompt more frustration from the teams and drivers, however will likely still ensure chaos that will be eaten up by the fanbase. Karun Chandok had similar thoughts to us in regards to the weather potentially creating all the conditions for a crazy race, with the Sky pundit saying this on the Sky F1 podcast. The track was sort of built on a swampland, wasn't it? So you start to get these massive bumps in the run-up to turn 1, for
Wow.
example. You get that massive bump just as the drivers would turn in. So it was due a resurface, and glad they've taken the opportunity to do so. And you just throw another curveball because they'll have all the simulation numbers. And what happens is Pirelli sends engineers out where they have a machine that basically measures the roughness of the surface, and they'll feed that
Wow.
information back to the teams. They'll plug that information back to the simulators and all of that going on. But as we found in Turkey in 2020, that doesn't always translate to being exact. The simulators are brilliant, but ultimately, that's not quite real life yet.
I'm, crazy again. Simulators and all of this that measure the the smoothness and everything about the track, and they, it's insane how much goes into this sport, man. It's crazy. I don't think I'll ever know exactly how much goes into Formula One, man.
The second issue is the fact that the cars are entirely different compared to the 2019 cars that were most recently used at the Shanghai circuit. We've seen an entire aero shift in the cars, which makes their performance at the circuit entirely unpredictable. Whereas set up too high could see the downforce disengage at the wrong part of the circuit, causing a big off, or too much downforce causing disqualification due to excessive plank wear. The way that the cars drive on the circuit is entirely unknown, and while having data from 5 years ago may give some indication as to how the cars will perform and may be of some use, all of that goes out the window when the way that the car physically interacts with the tarmac is an equal unknown. It wasn't only the aero that changed back in 2021, as the size of the tyre was also increased to an 18-inch rim, and the Pirelli tyres brought to the racing weekends are an entirely different makeup to 5 years ago. So not only is the aero's performance in relation to the track completely unknown, the physical connection to the track which forms the basis of mechanical grip is also entirely unknown. Carlos Sainz made his thoughts on the potential issues that this may throw up clear as he said, I think China as a race circuit is a great one. I think it's one of our favorites for everyone. It's a great racing track and a track that offers a good possibility to overtake, so a sprint makes sense to have it there. At the same time, it's what we said in the driver's briefing to the FIA and Formula One. With these kinds of cars, to go to a track with 1 hour of practice and straight into qualifying, with the regulations that they have put on us, with the plank wear and things like this and how tricky one bump could make the car, I think it's not a good choice to put the sprint there after 4 or 5 years of absence.
I feel that. Also, the China Grand Prix gets a sprint race along with the Grand Prix. That'll be the first sprint race of the season, huh?
That brings us to the last point of contention here, and that is the choice to make the return to China after 5 years a sprint weekend. Considering everything we have already said so far about the limited understanding of the circuit and fears surrounding the grip on the circuit in general, never mind off the racing line and in cold conditions, then this is the point that understandably has received the most backlash. The sprint format limits the team to just a single free practice session on Friday at a time that may not be reflective of either race qualifying or of the race itself, due to it being an earlier session in the day to make room for the sprint qualifying session. This means that the team will only have one session in which to get to grips with the circuit and create a setup for both races and qualifying session that they will then be locked in with for the first half of the weekend due to the rules of Parc Ferme. Parc Ferme will then briefly reopen between the sprint race and full race qualifying, and clearly this can mix up the grid quite a lot to create a real spectacle. However, it may come at the cost of driver safety and overall race quality. It's safe to say that Max Verstappen isn't exactly the sprint format's biggest fan. However, I think everyone, regardless of their stance on the format, can at least somewhat agree with his concerns. When asked about his thoughts on making China a sprint weekend, Max sarcastically replied to motorsport.com, "Yeah, it's very smart to do that," before going on to say, I think it's not great to do that because when you've been away from a track for quite a while, I think you never know what you're going to experience. So it would have been better to have a normal race weekend there. On the other hand, it probably spices things up a bit more, and that's maybe what they would like to see. But purely from a driving and performance perspective from the sport, I think it's not the smartest thing to do. We'll see what we get there. I always loved driving there, so hopefully we can hit the ground running as well as we can, and hopefully we don't need to fine-tune too many things on the car.
I feel that. So a lot of people don't really agree with having the sprint race there just because it's been so long since they've actually driven on the track. And so they don't know what they're going to experience on the track. They don't know what challenges or difficulties. They don't have time to set up the car. You only get one practice session to figure things out, and then you're locked into that until after the sprint race. And so I guess a lot of them are just saying like just a regular race weekend, and still there's things that could pop up that we won't know what to experience because it's a green track.
So the positives then is that for us in the comfort of our homes, this race weekend will likely be an absolute banger, with returns to Turkey, Mugello and Nürburgring all throwing up brilliant spectacles on the return to the much beloved circuits. It's safe to assume that China, if nothing else, will be an entertaining spectacle. However, that's all fine and well for us to say, as it's not us that will have to deal with the challenges thrown up by such a potentially treacherous weekend. Then again, it's not us being paid millions to drive, so there's only so much we can speak against a race weekend that will more than likely deliver some fireworks. So what do you think? Do you think the sprint weekend will actually make it a more entertaining spectacle and so more positives to outweigh the negatives? Or do you think that Max and the other drivers are right, that perhaps it was better to take their time in reintegrating this circuit to the calendar? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching.
Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe make it a normal race weekend. But then again, they also brought up, yeah, we not the one getting paid millions. So, oh no. That's all we got, though. Make sure y'all subscribe, ring notification bell, get a video a thumbs up. It's your boy Neal. Out.